Well, we are back with one of our favorite people here at Primetime Local News. Stephanie Dobson is joining us. Stephanie is a lawyer, mediator, and online educator with Hankin Divorce Law and Mediation offices in Lloydminster and Edmonton. Stephanie, welcome back from the holiday break, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks again for having me, Stacey.
And we're going to be, well, I guess kind of a little bit of a downer today because January is International Divorce Month, but there's a reason for that, and I'll get you to elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, it's dubbed International Divorce Month because it's really a month where we see a sharp spike in families around the globe deciding to embark on their decision to separate. And I have a particular passion for talking with families in January because I really think it's important for people to be as informed as possible when embarking on that journey. And so for today's episode, I've thought of 4 tips that we can go through and have our viewers consider if they're deciding to separate or divorce in this International Divorce Month.
All right. And that first tip, Stephanie, is, as you mentioned, making sure that you get informed before making your official decision. So let's go with that one first.
Yeah, so once a decision to separate has been made, the ball can really start rolling quite quickly. And sometimes decisions have to be made without really having that opportunity to think that through. And so I encourage you, before even the decision to separate has been made, is to get as informed as possible. So here's a few ideas of how you can get informed. First, organize your finances. Some people go through their whole marriage and they don't know much about their finances. So now it's really that time to start learning. So start gathering your documents. Your lawyer or mediator is going to want things like bank account statements, investment statements, credit cards, lines of credit, mortgage information, and other such things. So even creating a budget so that you know how much is coming in monthly and going out monthly is helpful. So second, you might want to take a look at some online resources. So there's, of course, tons of ways to learn online these days, but one option is to take the Parenting After Separation seminar. If you just do a Google search for that seminar, it will come up. It's a free course, and it's mandatory for most parents who are divorcing. And the third way to get informed is to have that consultation with a lawyer or mediator. They can really help you guided during those initial stages, and they can even meet with you in confidence prior to separation to help you to be as informed as possible.
Okay, and the next tip that you have, Stephanie, is to think short-term first.
Yeah, so when you're first separating, it's best to avoid any long-term permanent decisions, but you're going to want to think of a couple of them at first. So number 1 is on the parenting front, and number 2 is on the finances front. So on the parenting front, you're going to want to think of a schedule for your children in 2 homes, but trying to maintain that stability, consistency, and routine as much as possible. Talking with the kids about the separation, setting that parenting schedule is going to be one of the first things that you're going to want to do, at least on a temporary basis. And the finances is a parent-parent conversation, of course, to make sure that you've organized what are those monthly bills that you've got, and then who's going to pay for things, at least on a short-term basis.
Okay, and the next one, Stephanie, is to take your time before making that decision to separate.
Yes, this is, of course, at the very early stages, but, once you throw around that big D word, divorce, it's really difficult to come away from that word. So it's really important to make some good decisions right at the beginning and make sure that that's the direction that you want to go. So I've got a couple of really good books that people might want to check out. So the first one is called The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work. So this book, of course, the title tells it all, how to help you to decide if you're going to stay in the marriage, how to make that marriage work. And the second one is called Too Good to Leave, Too Bad to Stay. And this is about getting out of that relationship ambivalence. So, just a couple of books. There's tons of books out there, but those are just a couple that I thought of.
And the last one, Stephanie, and probably the most important one, is to make sure you're focusing on self-care.
Yeah, so prioritizing your physical and mental health is so important. This is, of course, a huge life change, and you'll need to seek support from family, friends, even a therapist to help you get through those rough times. Creating a support network of encouraging people around you, as opposed to toxic people around you, is so important. You might want to consider how you want to move forward yourself, both personally and relationally. Self-care also can relate to communication boundaries. So you're going to need to communicate with your former spouse, especially in these initial phases of separation. And it's really important that you create those boundaries and make sure that there's respect, clarity, directness in your communication, and this will pay dividends in your own well-being.
All right, Stephanie. Well, thank you so much. And we will be continuing to talk about International Divorce Month, which is January, for the rest of the month here as well. So we have lots more to come on this. And
Yeah.
thank you again for joining me. We'll be back to chat more about this next week.
Thanks, Stacey, for having me again.